I did this whole video in 2 takes, but the other one got corrupted, so now we need to reshoot. Can you guess what we'll be talking about today? First, I feel like I need to touch on media literacy just a little bit. So the Chainsaw Man fandom usually falls into 2 groups, where one is into the themes, lessons, and deeper meanings, on top of enjoying the many cool things about the series, like the fights, the monster designs, the power system, and the characters, of course. But the other group is mostly weirdos who just say, oh, it should have been me, whenever Denji is being groomed, assaulted, or any form of physical contact with a woman. It is definitely a minefield being a fan of the series, but to be fair though, even just trying to sum up the series can sound odd to the uninitiated. Yeah, so it's this cool series where this kid inherits this outrageous debt his dead dad got from the Yakuza, leading him to essentially being their slave, and then he even sells some of his body parts, but he befriends a cute little dog with a chainsaw coming out of its head, and then together they risk their lives to kill demons for less than minimum wage, and eventually get betrayed by the Yakuza. But it's not bad though, because he comes back with the dog infused to him and can transform into Mr. Chainsaw and kill devils, and then he gets to join a cool organization where he gets manipulated and abused, but it's not all bad though, because he gets to eat and have a house and he gets to be with the
Big Mother Makima?
So I want to start the video off with this because although most of the time Denji is lusting after women, the women usually end up manipulating him, trying to kill him, or both. Now this is on top of the fact that most of these women are adults and Denji is 16 years old. The thing is though, his lust for women represents his need for affection, intimacy, and a normal life. It's not really about sexual gratification despite what it might seem on the surface. I mean, the dude has been traumatized and basically has no idea about the standards of living and the standards of connections. He just wants a genuine connection, and it manifests through his wants for sexual gratification. It's not just gooner bait and hot women. I think it's important to address this because one of the best scenes in the movie, it feels like it starts off as something just kind of lewd for the sake of being lewd, but actually it just turns into this ethereal moment of love. I'm just gonna get it out of the way, spoiler warning. So if you're watching this, I'm assuming you've at least watched or read up to the Reze Arc, and if you'd like a summary on that, let me know and I can do another video on it. Chainsaw Man the movie, The Reze Arc, is about Denji, aka Chainsaw Man, meeting a girl named Reze seemingly by chance, and at this point, Denji has feelings for his superior, Makima, and only wants her, but after spending more time with Reze, he starts to question his emotions and ends up falling for her. As the two talk, they eventually decide to visit a school at night. Reze would bring up how it's strange that Denji hasn't done a lot of normal things a kid should do, like go to school, and how what he considers the good life is the standard for a Japanese citizen. She starts teaching him some basics, and eventually they go up to the pool where she teaches him how to swim. The two share an ethereal moment in the pool while a beautiful score by Kensuke Ushio plays. After they dry off, she begins planting these thoughts in his head by also letting him know that the fact that the government is sending a 16-year-old to risk his life daily fighting devils shouldn't be allowed. A sudden downpour leaves them stuck in the school, but while Reze goes to the bathroom, she's pursued by a serial killer working with the Typhoon Devil. She runs for her life and eventually gets cornered on the school rooftop. The killer lunges for her eye as she screamed for her life, but within an instant, she disarmed the man and started choking him to death. The Typhoon Devil had unknowingly interfered with Reze's plan, and when Reze found out, she told the Typhoon Devil that she'd let it slide if she obeyed her for a while. And of course, the Typhoon Devil complied. I was kind of confused if it was more of fear or respect, but it could be a mix of both. On the night of their first date at a festival, Reze confesses her feelings for Denji and asks him if they could run away together. Denji confesses that he also has feelings for her, but is content with how his life is going. Reze then goes in for a kiss, and the fireworks start going off in a way to symbolize that things are gonna pop off, not romantically. After biting off Denji's tongue, she slits his throat. Denji falls to the ground and tries to rev his engine to transform, but Reze quickly cuts off that hand before giving him another kiss and apologizing. Reze says that she's gonna take his heart, but Denji is saved at the last minute by his buddy Beam, the shark fiend. Beam then wonders how he didn't notice the smell and reveals that Reze is the bomb devil. A chase ensues following a catastrophic battle in the city where Reze and the Typhoon Devil fight against Denji and the Devil Hunters. After some of the best fight scenes I've seen in years, we reach the end of the battle, where Chainsaw Man and the Bomb Devil have their final standoff near the ocean. Chainsaw Man uses his new ability to create chains, and ensnares the Bomb Devil to him as they plunge into the ocean to ensure that she can't detonate any more explosions as they both drown. The two wake up on the beach alongside Beam. Reze questions why they saved her. Denji says that he can forgive as long as he can eat good food the next day, and that he'd feel bad if he turned her into public safety. Reze tells Denji that all her affection and feelings were fake since the moment they met. Denji says that even if that was all fake, she still did teach him how to swim. Reze then leaves after knocking Denji down one more time after feigning a kiss again. Denji yells that he'll be at the cafe later that day, so that they can run away together. Reze is about to board a train to flee the city, but decides at the last minute to go to the cafe. As she's almost through the alley that leads to the cafe, Makima and the Angel Devil show up and ambush her. Denji isn't aware of any of this and waits at the cafe until they close, believing she chose to run on her own. And then the door opens before the cafe closes, but to Denji's disappointment, it's just power. The saddest part is, as Reze lay there bleeding out, she reveals that she also never went to school, suggesting that both of them just wanted to have a normal life together. So, things I like. Let's start with the music. Kenshi Yonzu, dude, what a legend. Guys, he made Kickback, right? The intro song for the Chainsaw Man anime. So Kickback is the first song with Japanese lyrics to be certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America. That's the level of goat we're dealing with here. So he made Kickback, he made Iris Out, which I admit had to grow on me for a little bit, but I think seeing the visuals in the movie combined with the song, it kind of made me appreciate it more, and now I think it's a banger. Also, fun fact, he draws the album covers and like the artwork for the songs too. So when you see like whatever like you use to stream music, when you see Iris Out, the artwork for that, and also for Kickback and anything else that he made the cover art for that. That's insane. So he's an artist in multiple mediums. And another fun fact, if you're into Vocaloid, I think his producer name was Hachi, and he made Matryoshka, which is a banger as well. And he did the music video. He drew and animated that. Isn't that nuts? Like, what can't he do, honestly? I'm trying to be like him. And it's as if having Kenshi Yonzu was not enough. We have him and Hikaru Utada on the song that plays during the credits, Jane Doe. Banger. Okay, banger. And you know, the icing on the cake is that if you have those two names attached to the project, you're gonna expect them to pop off. But then you get punched in the gut with Sentiment from the music by Kensuke Ushio. I feel like this made my favorite scene hit so much harder. And on top of that, they use like a distorted remix of it, like at certain times when Reze is the bomb devil. And I like to think that it's the way Denji's perception of her gets distorted, knowing her as Reze and having feelings to all of a sudden his enemy. And then next, let's talk about the animation. They made a lot of cool creative choices to emphasize like the different moods in the manga. I love the beginning where they do like the 3D manga look with Denji's dream where Pochita tells him not to open the door. The way they animated Denji reacting to Makima in her casual clothes, it breathed like a whole lot of life into that and just made it really fun. The way they put little one-frame Easter eggs like Pochita showing up during the explosion on Denji's chainsaws after reviving from the first time that Reze kicks his ass, and the way they executed Reze choking out the killer on the rooftop, that scene went from like a few panels to a whole emotional roller coaster, because if you watch that movie without knowing anything about Chainsaw Man, that's when Reze flips the switch and she just shows off that she's not just some random girl who's defenseless. And it's ironic that this happens because the killer calls her a piece of cheese to bait out Denji as the mouse. But he got baited up to the roof and got killed for it. Another cool thing that they gave us extra action for was in the final moments of the fight between Denji and Reze. In the manga, she just gets restrained like after Denji launches the chains. And they let her be a little bit more badass because you can see her deflecting these things with like pinpoint accuracy, cool moves, everything. And speaking of fights, I don't really know where to begin or what to say, but the whole thing was dynamic, explosive, fluid, and even though the fight was basically the last half of the movie, it didn't feel too long because it wasn't just like non-stop action. There were brief moments of respite before going hard in the action again. I love how deadly they made Reze look here because even though you can see that in the manga, the movie just lets her flex the fact that she was trained to be a human weapon since she was being experimented on as a child. The way she outclassed everyone once she decided to lock in was insane to watch. You can see her skill and experience in like every scene, from her hand-to-hand combat to her movement, and her superior use and understanding of her devil powers. Like the way she uses it to get around is so cool to watch, and it's so like creative. And then the way that she like cuts off parts of herself to use as weapons too, it's insane. Fujimoto was cooking. I also like the way that they captured the mood of Denji absolutely not understanding what beam meant by using his chains to get around, and then showing us how Denji felt like he reached some sort of epiphany with the wrong answer. Okay, so now I want to talk about the pool scene and the festival. I'll be grouping these two because they're pretty much next to each other in sequence, and they carry the same vibe or structure, whichever fits better. They both portray pure feelings of when you're falling hard for someone and how you see them. And they both have a quick mood shift from sweet to dark, like hearing the distorted piano come in after she goes mask off in such a dark context. Makes you feel as disoriented as Denji must have felt. Alright, let's talk about the festival. So for this dude, they nailed the visuals so well. Like I said earlier, they did extend a lot of like one-pagers to be like whole scenes. You'd think like on paper it's just like, oh great, they're filling out time. But no, they added so much more to them. And I think it's great. They end up emphasizing exactly what those scenes were supposed to convey a lot more clearly. Like the way they use the slow shutter speed for that exaggerated motion blur to make it look nostalgic and dreamy, while also visually telling us that Denji's focus was only on Reze that night. And of course the music, again, I have to keep mentioning it because it's just that good. I was gonna say like it's probably not that good on its own, but no, I've been listening to the music on repeat like the last few days. It's good on its own too. Just these two together, man, it's just insane. It's kind of like the same feeling of when you find a song you really like and then you find out it has a music video and the music video just fits the song so well. That's basically this. And the way they look at each other and show all this sentiment without a single word, it makes me forget about every rom-com I've ever seen. I just want to say real quick, guys, love is amazing. And I honestly think it's one of the reasons we're alive. I hope all of you out there have experienced or are going to experience falling in love or being in love the way that the pool scene and festival scene convey. It's pure, it's magic, it is quite literally to die for. Once you've felt something like that, you start to understand a lot of things, like why people talk about love the way they do. And if you've also had that feeling and lost it or had your heart broken, then you'll understand even more on why people would say that they would probably die over things like that. Trust me, I know, I've been there. Like, dude, the parts where they're running through the crowd and the way he just looks at her, that wasn't even in the manga, but like, it's so effective. So hands down, my favorite scene in the movie. I think the pool scene and the festival scene really just capture that feeling of like young love because it really just feels like you're floating, you're in your own little world, you feel untouchable. And like the way they're just so carefree, relishing each other's company in every moment. It's just so beautiful. I always think it's so touching when scenes can convey love without ever having to mention that or say it with dialogue. Also, the way that they use this scene to contrast and set up as juxtaposition later on with the end of the fight, showing like how they started out to where they are now. It was a really powerful visual and like it made me tear up. It made me cry, I'm not even gonna lie. I feel like the way they extended the scene was to kind of show more on how like Denji was seeing and feeling it. Like he was torn in the beginning because he didn't want to betray Makima in his heart, but the pull of something that was so like raw and real right in front of him was too strong to ignore. I mean, after all, it was something that Denji always wanted right in front of him. It was a genuine connection. When he finally decides to jump in and the montage starts, the sentiment is just elevated beyond the next level when that haunting but beautiful piano hits. Once again, no words, just vibes. I interpreted this as Denji seeing Reze as like this whole new world that he never knew anything about. Like he never even knew what a real normal life was like or about until he met her, which is ironic because she has no idea what a normal life is like either. It's just what they kind of told her. Like she was teaching him all these new things, and that includes how to swim. And you know, trusting someone to teach you swim is kind of vulnerable if you think about it. You're having faith that this person will not let you drown because you would not be able to save yourself without them. I feel like Denji let his guard down for a while, and for just a little bit I think he had some semblance of what a normal life might feel like. He was just there in the moment with her, and despite the moments only being real for him, he still got to feel genuine love, even if it wasn't really reciprocated. I think they chose like a good arc to use for the movie because if you haven't seen or read Chainsaw Man, you can kind of see this on its own and it still holds up. And honestly, I think the biggest thing about this movie portraying the arc is that I feel like it really highlights all the emotional points that arc had, because the way that they extend the heavy hitting parts and things that kind of convey the emotional weight, like the festival, the pool scene, and even some action scenes like the one where she chokes out the dude in the rooftop. I think it's a lot more clear how these things are supposed to feel versus when you just read them on the manga. And that's not me shitting on the manga. I'm just saying like I think the movie really played to the strengths of animation versus the still images of the manga. And that might sound like duh common sense, but like it's just elevated. And the voice actors killed it, okay? Absolutely all of them killed it. We got Denji, killed it. Reze, killed it. Makima, killed it. Aki, killed it. Power, killed it. Beam, killed it. Also kind of carried the fight. Like I think they would have lost without Beam. Mysterious Man, killed. So things I didn't like. I'm not gonna lie, I watched this thing like at least 2 or 3 times and there's not really something that stood out to me enough for me to be like, yeah, that's straight up something I don't like. It might be bias or whatever, but I really just think it's a great movie. So conclusion. Go and see the movie if you haven't. I highly recommend it. And if you haven't read or watched the series, also recommend that. Like, I can't say it's for everyone, but if it resonates with you, I think it'll really hit. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I'll probably do more media discussions. This is the first one I've done. It's new territory, but I do feel like it's something I've been wanting to do for a while. So, and check out my second channel where I play games and stream. All right.